So, sort of welcome to today's Qigong practice, starting lying down. So lying down on the back. We'll be there just briefly. And just for a moment, as you lie down, take a few big, deep breaths out through your mouth. Clear the lungs. Emptying the breath. So, as you empty the breath a few times, settle into the sensation of the ground beneath you. Always a reminder of this connection to the earth in some way, to Mother Earth. Even if you're 10 stories up and not actually that close to the ground, it's the feeling of the ground beneath you, inviting a sense of returning to the abundance and the harmony and the mystery of nature. So even in those times when we feel disconnected from kind of the people that we care about or that we're close to, we feel disconnected from ourselves, the ground is always beneath us, the earth is always there. There's always this capacity to sink inwards to that reassuring contact of the ground. And if it feels good to you, you might rest one hand at your belly, one hand at your heart. And invite your breath to travel way down into the lower belly. Way down into the lower belly, breathing in. The breath becoming slow, deep, and even. Smooth breath, like silk, smooth, refined. And opening with a poem, a reading about connecting to nature, even when we're in periods where we're separated in different ways. It's called Venus. Decide tonight to take a lesson from Venus. She shines brighter than any planet, a morning and evening star in our endless sky. She hasn't a single moon to worship her or to cloud her judgment. She is alone, and oh, how brilliantly she shines. She is alone, and oh, how brilliantly she shines. So as you deepen your breath further, start to stretch your arms overhead. Take a big stretch out. And then just for a moment, could you draw your right knee in towards your body? Take your hands around the knee or the shin. Just gently draw the knee in towards the body for a moment. And then take that knee across your body into a twist. You don't have to go very far. Just drawing the leg across. You could reach your right arm out to the side or overhead. But now, with the back lifted away from the earth a little bit like this, the lower back, could you imagine you're sending deep breaths into your lower back? Almost like you could inflate the lower back a little bit. That area of the lower back, really important in traditional Chinese medicine, the kidney area. It's a source of power, of life, of energy or qi. Slowly come back to center and let's switch sides. Let your right leg go long, left knee comes in, snuggling close. And gently drawing the leg across the body. And your left arm could come out to the side or overhead, wherever feels good. But the one constant, the one certain is the breath. The wave-like tidal rhythm of your breathing, bringing nourishment to the lower back, the spine, that all-important kidney area. That area of the lower back we'll explore a little bit today in practice, known as the Mingmen, or the gate of life. Slowly come back. Draw both knees in a little bit closer to the body. Take a little rock side to side, contacting the Mingmen, the gate of life, with the earth. Almost like you could plug yourself into the power and energy of Mother Earth, filling up the gate of life. And now very gently roll to one side and start to bring yourself up. And we'll just come up briefly to a seated position. Now, you could sit up on a couple of cushions if you have them. If you're comfortable on the floor, no worries. Just crossing the legs, cross the ankles, the shins. And for a moment, rest the hands on the legs somewhere. Roll the shoulders back. And then sit quite tall, almost like the crown of your head was being pulled up by a string, lifting up through the crown of the head. Start to release your right hand behind you and take a twist. You could take your left hand to the opposite knee even, just finding another rotation through the spine. It's the sense of freeing up the energy channels at the front and the back of the body. And then coming back to center and switching sides. So there's many different meridians in the energetic body in Chinese medicine. There's several key ones. There's a meridian running up through the back of the body to the crown of the head, known as Dumai, the governing channel. And one running down from the crown of the head all the way down the front of the body, down through the belly, known as Runmai, conception channel. We represent yang and yin. As we breathe deeply back to center now, it's like you're nourishing, cleansing, and harmonizing those channels. Slowly find your way to stand, folks. So, welcome, welcome. As we come to stand today, take your feet a little bit wider than the hips, plant the feet. For a moment, bend your knees slightly, and then straighten the legs. Little bops up and down, bouncy, bouncy. But as is often the case in Qigong, it's sort of slow motion. So, slow motion, bending and lengthening the legs. And still really aware of the ground beneath you, the toes spread, the feet sinking down. As you take these little gentle bends, these kind of baby mini squats, since your lower back stays nice and long, back of your neck is nice and long, and really feel into the ball of the feet. So even bring the weight forward slightly to the ball of the foot as you sit the hips back. Again, there's another really interesting acupressure point in the ball of the foot, sometimes called bubbling brook, or I've heard it called bubbling stream. And as you bend the knees and pulse gently with the legs, it's almost like you're pumping up energy from the earth through the balls of the feet, up into the body. We feel that maybe as heat or just a general enlivening quality through the legs. One more. Now from here, take your hands to your hips and let's draw a figure 8 with a pelvis. Knees nice and soft, lightly bent. We're drawing a figure 8 loop with the hips. When I do this, the sides of my feet tend to lift off the floor, which I allow to happen, almost like you're massaging the inside and outside edges of the feet, just a little bit. The emphasis on organic, circular, smooth movements. In Qigong, movements which are repetitive for sure. On the surface, really simple, but they belie hidden depths. Through that rhythmic, repetitive quality, sometimes there's a dropping in of awareness, meditative quality. Start to go the other way, which always feels less smooth to me. So if you're feeling that too, you're not alone. It's a little bit like, oh, this doesn't quite feel like the right direction. So bringing balance, bringing harmony. Ambidextrous hips, as it were, I suppose. But also as we move, we're charting this quality of water, fluidity in the practice, really prized by Taoist philosophers and practitioners, really prized by Bruce Lee as well. Best to be like water, flexible, changeable, malleable. Come back to the center. Shake out your wrists for a moment, flick off the fingertips, then take the arms out a little bit. Let the elbows and the shoulders get a little bit involved. You might also let the legs bounce slightly, just kind of shaking things out, just to whatever level feels good for you today. And really let the shoulders go. Let them kind of drop. Yeah, that's it, everybody. Bouncing around. The knees are bouncy, so they kind of absorb some of the mechanical movements, the shock. So rather than bouncing on straight legs, everything's soft. And that seems to make sense. If we were going to do a big jump, we pretty much know not to land with straight legs and locked knees. But that really symbolizing the benefit to keeping the joints soft. The joints are ready for action, a little bit soft. They can move in lots of different directions in a really healthy way. When we lock them out, we sometimes lose the different movement options. Keeping all options open in Qigong. Start to slow your shaking down. As we often do in these practices, we'll let the arms go heavy and swing the arms side to side, watching out for your furniture. So I guess is another awareness practice, aware of the wall, furniture, and your hands not hitting any of them. So your arms are really relaxed here. The movement's really coming from the torso. And your hips are rocking, knees are soft, so they can move, they can turn. Now as you swing, I'm going to turn around to show you. As you swing, the hands are very lightly hitting that lower back area, very lightly tapping sides of the body, the kidney area, or what's in Chinese medicine, the kidney area. Knocking at the gate of life, this is called. So gently tapping, like you could awaken energy, vibrancy, vitality, and health. Also, the mechanical action of hitting the lower back gently can also feel quite nice, physically. Just a couple more breaths. Smooth, deep, slow breaths. That's it, everybody. Yeah. Getting your swing on. And start to slow that down. Let things become really slow, hanging out. It's like the muscles are tender on the bones, releasing soft. From here, replant the feet, kind of placing them with intention onto the earth, almost like you're plugging in that bubbling brook point on the ball of the foot, drawing up energy and vitality. Knees a little soft. This time, take your palms out in front of you, palms and fingers spread. Imagine for a moment, if you will, that you are stood in a beautiful, clear lake. And the hands are resting at the height of the water, just below the belly button. So belly button, hands just a little bit lower than the belly button. Your fingers spread almost like you could feel the surface of the water. And now start to trace the fingertips over to one side, turning the body. And gently trace the fingertips across the surface of the water to the other side, unsurprisingly. And as you slowly swish side to side, allow the movement to become a little bit more fluid, seamless. In Qigong, different forms or movements have lots of different names or ways of translating them. The name that I've heard for this movement that I've come across is water ways, where we learn the way of water, smooth, fluid, relaxed. So to add in detail to this, as you take this simple repetitive movement, how relaxed could your shoulders be? Could your shoulders be soft, melting away the tension in the neck and the shoulders, really relaxed shoulders? And could the arms be very light, almost supported by the water as you create little ripples on the surface of your lake? And as you do that, is your breath still smooth and slow, refined like silk, smooth like silk? Are you still aware of the balls of the feet rooting down to the ground? The knees still soft? So there's a lot going on. There's loads going on here, beneath the surface. What's that? There's an analogy, isn't there, an idiom about calm waters belie hidden depths or something. Calm water often means that it's really deep. It's a calm surface, deep awareness, deep intention. Now, of course, working with intention is really key in Qigong. So perhaps today your intention is to evoke a very calm, placid lake. If that's the quality you want to cultivate, this very soft, gentle serenity. What could the movement teach you about that as a mind and heart state? Or maybe you need a little bit of waves today. Maybe you need a playfulness and there's a kind of buoyancy and the hands become somewhat more Hawaiian in the way they move. Maybe if that's your intention, if you need that kind of playfulness, lightheartedness, how could the movement help you cultivate that? Just continuing with waterways, slow, simple, but deep. Keep checking in with your shoulders and your jaw. Just notice if tension builds. It's normal. We're constantly learning, maybe even training ourselves in the practice to keep things really soft and relaxed. One of the underpinning principles in Qigong is to relax. If in doubt, work less hard. If in doubt, use less effort. Which is very counterculture, right? Not what we're used to hearing. Have a couple breaths. So now start to swish back to center. Your hands come into center. You're going to start to make bigger movements. This time release your fingertips down either side of you. Yeah, beautiful, everybody. Cross your wrists. We're going to take a big circle through the arms. Fingers spread. And back down either side of you. Cross the wrists, elbows soft. Circle the arms up and overhead. And fingertips trail down, so let the fingertips stay upright as they lower. Fan the hands as they cross. And sometimes it feels quite natural to allow the legs to lengthen as the arms come up. So maybe the legs lengthen, look up towards the hands if that feels okay today. And then bend the knees slightly again as the hands return down. So there's a pulsing happening through the legs, lengthening, lifting as the arms come overhead. Bending, settling, sinking as the hands come down. Each form, each movement, there's this balance of yang and yin, in my opinion. Yang is this very upward rising, energetic, lifting feeling. Yin is this rooting, receptive, settling feeling. Yang represented by the light. Yin represented by the shadow or the dark, the sun and the moon, both vital, both necessary to our lives, both the activity and the rest. Take 2 more Almost like you could draw an orbit of the full moon or the sun with the fingertips. And the hands come down. From here, step your feet a little bit wider now into what's called horse stance. So your feet are definitely wider than your shoulders. Toes pretty much facing forwards, maybe slightly out if that feels good in your knees. But then bend your knees like you're kind of sitting on a pony or a horse. Those of you who know your lower back is quite bendy, rather than kind of arching into your lower back like this, kind of you wouldn't sit in a horse like this. At least I don't think you would do. Drop your tailbone down. Let your tailbone drop towards the floor so your lower back is long. From here, one more cross of the wrists. Fluid. Beautiful, everybody. Hands come down. This time, start to lift your right arm up and arch over to the side. Left arm scoots in. And then we sway back to the other side. Some of you may be familiar with this movement if you've practiced Qigong with me before. I do it a lot. Side bending, swaying. And again, the images of nature are really helpful as we practice. So today, you might choose to pretend to be giant kelp, seaweed. Seaweed swaying in a bright, buoyant ocean. Warm waters, maybe. Or maybe you're a reed at the riverbank, like a bulrush or a reed swaying in the wind. You sense that movement in the spine, working out the kinks, finding a smooth, fluid way of being. Once more each side. This time as you come back to center, keep the top arm above and bottom hand below. Make little cups with the hands and start to draw the palms towards each other until they meet at the heart, like you're holding a ball of light or energy at the heart. Now straighten your legs, shine the light outwards, expand. And with the knees softly bent, fold forwards as far as feels good. Cross the wrists, take a big circle. And twice more, folding, crossing. That's it, everybody. This time, stay upright, soft knees, fingertips trickle down like little raindrops. And this time to the other side, left arm rises, leaning over, cupping the bottom arm, and swaying. I've also heard it said with this movement, it's like the hands are tracing the yang-yin symbol. It's that famous circle with the swirl of black and white, both reflected in each other. It's like the arms are mirroring that shape, reminding us of the balance in nature of activity and rest, light and dark, up and down. Just a couple more times. Again, how soft could the shoulders be? Evoking water, fluidity, like seaweed or the reeds on the riverbank. And over to the side, last time. Now start to gather top hand and bottom hand below, spine centered. Gathering the earth and the sky to the heart. And the heart shining brightly, expanding out from that as we bow to the earth 3 times, crossing the wrists. The breath deep and finding more space the more that we move, more freedom of breath. Fingertips trickle down either side of you. From here, step to feet in again, about shoulder width apart. Knees are soft, arms hang down. Now take your hands in front of your thighs, fingers lightly spread. From here, begin to flow the hands up towards heart height. Fingertips turn up, and they flow back down. From the side, it looks like this. pulsing. And if it feels good, you could inhale as the arms come up and exhale as they return down. Back of the neck long, like the crown of the head was being lifted by a golden thread. And the spine almost draping downwards from the nape of the neck, rather than being stacked from the pelvis upwards. What's it like to imagine the spine is very delicately hanging down from the head? So there's an idea of space, possibility between each vertebra of the spine. 2 more. I'm going to start to make this a little bit deeper. This time, take your arms out to the sides like wings. Fingertips turn up and they float back down. You inhale, arms come out, elbows soft, exhale down. If that breath feels too slow for you, just breathe freely. We're going to start to add in the hips with this. Slowing it down, as you inhale, send the hips back, spine long. Exhale, returning up, crown lifts, pulsing. Think more about your hips going back than your knees bending. The knees will take care of themselves. Could there be a sense of grace, of dignity through the back line of the body? So the neck is free and long, almost elegant, bird-like. Continuing to pulse. That's it, Anna, yes. Yes, Maria, yes, Andrew. Each time we pulse, it's like we are creating brighter, bolder, more vibrant energy. You can feel that physically as heat building. Sometimes the Qigong practice can make you feel a little bit lightheaded. So just being aware of that. From a traditional perspective, that's because Qi is rising, energy is building through the channels of the body, the energy body. And sometimes it really kind of makes you lightheaded. So if that starts to happen, take a moment, stand still, touch the wall if you need it. Yeah. We're going to continue this pulsing, but we're going to change the arm position after this next pulse. So this time the arms are going to come outwards. So from belly, offer the palms forwards and out as you sit back. And then return the hands to the lower belly area. Offer the hands out. Yes, Ellie, exactly. And here, and Lucinda. You know, offering the power, the strength of the lower dantian, that lower belly area. Offering energy out and gathering it back in. The view that I was always taught from my teacher about energy was that from the perspective of Qi, it's not helpful to try and hold onto it or lock it in the body, because by its very nature, energy needs to flow like water. What we're looking for are meridians or energy lines in the body that are clear for the free flow of vibrant, healthy Qi to travel through. From a more physical perspective, we might say what we're looking for are joints that can move with stability and strength through a given range, through strong and steady cardiovascular system, and a strong and steady respiratory system. All of which this practice very slowly but quite deeply begins to build. One more pulsing outwards. Final position with the hands. This time, take your hands below the belly and cup, almost like you could hold something in the hands. Something almost with a little bit of weight in it. Yeah. And now, as you start to sit back with the hips, gather the hands to the heart height. Turn the palms over and gently press back down as you stand up. Gathering. turning, pressing. From the side, the same movement's happening in the hips. The hips are moving back. The knees are bending a little bit, but it's more of a hip hinge than a squat, I would say. Although that movement is present in the squat, right? Do you really imagine or feel you're drawing something up to the heart, bathing the heart, and then gently pressing back down towards the belly, towards the earth? Check in with your lower back. If it's starting to feel like it's really working, if it feels a little bit uncomfortable, see that you've not stuck your bum out too much. Your lower back is still long. Drop the tailbone slightly. Just 2 more, pulsing here. It's amazing how much strength and suppleness these seemingly simple, repetitive movements can make. You get so strong and so deep through this action, working mindfully and slowly in a healthy way. Start to release your hands. Give it all a little shake out. I'm going to shake out the foot, the other one, and the wrists, and the shoulders. So from here, come back into that horse stance. So again, feet wider than your shoulders, knees soft. This one's a bit trickier, so listen carefully. Take your arms out like you're going to hug a tree. So your hands are in this kind of basket shape. But then drop the elbows slightly. So rather than having the elbows way up, which puts a lot of work in your shoulders, let the elbows drop slightly, neck free. And now, with the legs wide, start to take the arms, like you're holding a tree, and gently carry your tree to the right. Pause. Begin to lift the opposite heel. So lift the left heel up. Then can you roll the thigh inwards, spin on the ball of the foot. And now you've got a bit more space to twist further. We go to a comfortable range. Pause. Keep your legs exactly as they are, but turn the torso and your tree back to center. So that left knee stays bent, stays turned in until the very last moment, and then you release the knee and the heel comes down, starting position. Carry your tree to the other side. Right heel lifts up, spin on the ball of the foot, roll the leg in, and carry the tree a bit further. Now your legs stay where they are as you carry your tree back. Heavy lifting. And at the last moment, allow that knee to turn out again, heel comes down. We continue. Starting to make this smooth as you lift the left heel, turning. Coming back into center. At the very last moment, then you release the left leg and the heel comes down. Smooth. As you do this, the arms might start to work. See how much you could relax the shoulders down the back, drop the elbows. Keep it light. Can the breath still be smooth and deep? Really aware of the inhale in the lower belly as you shift. There's a lot going on, more than people might think by looking at this from an external perspective. It requires a coordination of intention, of mind, of body, of heart, all together. So one more time each side. Coming back to center. Pause in center. Release your beautiful tree. Let's circle out the wrists once, sweeping overhead. Look up, straighten the legs. Fingertips fall down like raindrops. Step your feet in a little bit closer now, shoulder width apart. Take your hands in front of you like you're holding a ball of light. We've cultivated a lot of heat, energy, and chi. Imagine you're holding that between your palms. Knees are soft. Now, turn to face your right thigh. I'm going to mirror you. And start to bend, fold down, your spine can round. And can you take your hands either side of the thigh, but they're floating. So just a little bit away from your thigh. Like you're shining that energy ball down through the thigh, down through the knee, through the shin and the calf, knees bent, spine rounding. When you get to the floor, turn your palms to face the earth, almost like you could shine light across the earth to the other foot. And now, hands face each other, carry up through the ankle, the knee, the thigh, all the way back to center to the lower dantian. We go back down the left leg. I sometimes imagine there's electric firing between my fingertips or my hands. We shine it towards the earth for a moment and discharge any excess. And then we carry the hands either side of the leg, almost awakening, energizing, all the way back to center. And again, more smoothly now, fluidly, down the right leg. Shine across the floor. Can that help release your lower back? Shine the hands up through the left leg. And this time, listen carefully, adding on. As the hands come to the belly, shine the hands up and over to the opposite shoulder, to your right shoulder. Reach the hands up, turn, reach the fingertips, stretch out, and then come back the way you came. Hands face towards each other, down towards the belly, across the body, down the left leg. Shine light across the earth. Shine light up through the right leg, all the way through the thigh, the belly, pass through the heart, the lungs, out over to the other side, reaching and coming back. Let's continue with this just once more each side. So traveling down through right leg, shining across the ground, rising up through the left leg, across the body, reaching up. This time lift your left heel, reach a little taller, reach a little further, and then return the heel, return the hands. Travel down. It's like you could heal anything going on in the legs and joints, the energy system. Meridians for kidneys, for gallbladder, for urinary bladder, through the legs. It's like you're bringing harmony to those organs. And reaching back to center, pausing here. Release your hands for a moment. We're going to take a more energizing movement now called Looking for Moon and Sea. It is my favorite. So step your feet a little bit wider still, horse stance. I'm going to come closer to show you the wrist movement because it's a little bit tricky. So start by offering your hands out, palms turn up. Yeah, fingers are quite close, but they're not going to touch. Now start to spiral a little finger in, followed by the next finger, pointing your fingers towards your face one by one. When your four fingers are facing you, turn the fingertips down and then turn them forwards. From here, turn the hands up to face the sky. Do that a couple more times. Spiral the fingers in towards the third eye, then towards the earth, then to the horizon, and then palms turn up, receptive. Continue. Spiral in, down, forwards, and up. Beautiful, everybody. Everyone's got it. A couple more. How smooth could this be? How fluid? Fluid like water, soft strength. Always orienting us to how we might preserve energy rather than deplete ourselves. We're kind of seemingly addicted to depleting our energy, I think, in contemporary society. Like to push harder, do more, go to the limit, but it's not sustainable. I learned that the hard way. I'm sure other people relate to that. So now, release the hands down, give your wrists a little break. It's quite strengthening for the wrists. We're going to come into the full movement. You could watch me for the first one, or if you know it, join in. Knees are soft, palms face forwards and up. We begin by spiraling the fingers in again. Fingers face the third eye. Then they start to face the earth. When they face the earth, we're going to dive down, sit the hips back, go as low as feels good, doesn't have to be all the way down. And then take a big breaststroke. Swing your fingers forwards like your breaststroke in a pool, or in a sea, ideally. And then bring your hands down like you could collect something from the ground and start to carry that something up, all the way through the body, all the way up, past the heart, past the head. Turn the palms to face the sky, press the hands into the sky, and the fingertips fall down like raindrops and move back into the starting position. Spiral the fingers in. Point the fingers down as you dive. Sit the hips back, long spine. Take a big swim, breaststroke. Reach the fingertips out, work the shoulders. Hands come down towards the ground like you could pick something up. Press through the heels, lift the head as you carry, all the way up, arms overhead, press the palms to the sky. Fingertips fall down like rain. We continue. Looking for moon and sea. Spiral in. Dive down. Again, it's up to you how low you go, but really reach the fingertips forwards. Feel the strength in your shoulders, strength in the core of the body. And then imagine you're being pulled up by the top of the head. So the crown of the head rises, the spine follows, space in each segment of the spine. Arms to the sky, look to the fingertips, and let them fall down like rain. And the story I always tell with this movement goes like this. The full moon has gone missing. We search through the mists of time for her. We dive into deep, deep oceans in search of the moon. And after a long while, we find her shining like a pearl on the seabed. We collect the pearl of the full moon. We carry her up out of the ocean and place her into the sky amongst the stars where she belongs. The heavens pour down raindrops with gratitude. The moon has gone missing. We search through the mists of time. Dive into deep oceans, searching, where we find her like a pearl on the seabed shining. We carry her with dignity back into the night sky, amongst the stars. Heavens pour down with raindrops. One more time. Breathing calmly, deeply. Fingertips falling down. Hands come back to the starting position. And then release the hands down through center. For a moment, rest one hand just below the belly button. Place the other hand on top. Step the feet back in hip distance apart. Just for a moment, standing with the hands here. You might close the eyes if that feels good to do so. Just for a moment, sensing into the effects of that practice. Where the body feels, quality of the weather inside maybe, mind and the heart. Losing any notion of positive and negative. Sensing what's here for you right now. Release your hands when you feel ready. I'm going to take one last standing movement, then we're coming close to the ground again. So for this movement, the feet are, again, shoulder width apart, knees soft. Turn your palms out to the sides. From here, very gently, lift the hands outwards, elbows ever so slightly bent, the arms are curved. Qigong is very curvaceous. Hands come overhead. As they reach overhead, the fingertips face each other. And the palms gently press down through the midline of the body. A little bit of space between the fingers. So that's the movement. Now there's an intention that goes with this. Clearing. As the hands reach out, imagine you could gather anything which is weighing you down, things that don't serve you, the baggage, other people's stuff, their judgments, their opinions. And now clear that out, press that out through your hands, out of your entire being. It's not yours, it doesn't belong there. Let it go, feed it back into the earth. Just twice more. Gather anything that you would like to let go of, that you no longer need. Gently press that out to the palms and the fingers. Feeding it to the earth like compost. She can take it. It's the great virtue and wonder of the earth to transform. Mother Earth, in many ways, I think, draws in the bodies of creatures, of trees, of people. And like alchemy, transforms them into something else, something new. So new trees, animals, creatures, people can be born. An endless cycle. This time, different intentions, same movement. Gather the things which bring you peace, nourishment, harmony, and joy. Those things which make you feel really well, really whole. And with the hands, fill the idea of those things inwards. Nourishing heart, body, mind. But knowing that body, heart, and mind are all the same thing, all one complex. And finally, same movement, sealing all of that in. Imagine you could create a great big orb, a force field of golden light around you. And the fingertips now shine an aura of light all around your form, keeping the good stuff in, the not so helpful stuff out. As you release your fingertips, flick them 3 times. Give your body a little bit of a wiggle if that's helpful. Release anything that needs releasing. We're going to come down to the ground. So you could choose to sit or you could choose to lie down. Lying down can feel really, really good after Qigong practice. Gives your legs and your back a break. But also sometimes being at home, it feels nice to sit rather than lie down. So sense what feels good to you today. Setting yourself up for comfort in a way which feels sustainable. So not having to force yourself into any particular posture or kind of way of sitting. Don't have to be in full lotus or anything like that. Just lying or sitting in a way which feels good. And we're going to close with a breathing practice, a breathing meditation. Again, it can make some people feel a little bit lightheaded. So if that's the case, feel free to lie down if you're sitting, or feel free to just breathe normally if it becomes challenging in any way. So whichever posture you're in, for a moment, just bring your awareness to the lower belly area again. It's that area a couple of inches below the belly button and right inwards at the center of your whole body. If there was a center point, it would be somewhere in the middle, suspended in the center of your belly, inwards, like a point of light or a star shining there. And aware of that point, just allowing the inhale to reach down into the lower belly, filling up with breath. It's really becoming aware of this living, breathing center of you. Now from here we begin our practice. Shift your attention to the tailbone, the very bottom end of your spine. Let's bring your focus mentally to the tailbone. You could even visualize it, this little triangular bone, maybe just the feeling of it. And now as you breathe in, imagine each inhale begins at the tailbone, almost as though you could draw in the breath through the tip of the tailbone, like a straw maybe, drawing in the breath, the chi, through the tailbone, each time you breathe in. And each time you breathe in, imagine that that breath now travels up through the spine, through the sacrum, the lower back, the mid back, the upper back, the neck, all the way to the top of your head. Like you could drink in the inhale through the tailbone, all the way up the spine to the very top of your head. Slow, deep breaths. And you might imagine, or perhaps sense, this clearing, purifying, refreshing quality to the spine. Like the inhale carries up nourishment through all the different facets of your spine. And now, each time you breathe out, imagining or sensing the exhale begins at the top of the head, the crown, and pours like water down through the forehead, between the eyebrows, the nose, the lips, the throat, the chest, the heart, the belly, all the way down to the pelvis and back through to the tailbone. The exhale pours like water from the crown of your head down the front line of your body, all the way down to the pelvis, back through to the tailbone. And so with each inhale, we inhale up the spine and we exhale down the front of the body, making a loop of breath. This breath is sometimes known as the microcosmic orbit. The microcosmic orbit. Inhaling up the spine, to the top of the head, to the 100 meeting points by Hui, and exhaling down the front line of the body, all the way through to the tailbone. And you might imagine with each breath, nourishment, life, vibrancy, health being drawn in. And with each exhale, anything that's stagnant or toxic or unhelpful, exhaling it out, releasing it from the body. This purifying breath. And as we breathe in this way, cleanse or clear, there's two great energetic channels. Do my governing channel up the back, and run my conception channel down the front, representing yang and yin respectively. So this breath evokes harmony, balance, clarity and purity. And in the next half a minute or so, when you feel ready to release this microcosmic orbit, this breath, just gently let it release. Let's take a few moments to relax and rest into body, knowing that that orbit continues by itself, that each breath happens by itself, bringing in nourishment and vitality, and releasing anything that's waste or toxic or stagnant. And so as we draw practice towards a close, you might take a couple big breaths out, just reawakening the breath in a really full, expressive way. Bringing little movements back to your fingers and your toes. Maybe beginning to stretch out, maybe taking arms overhead or behind you. If you're sitting, stretching out the legs, the spine. And if you're lying down, starting to walk the feet in, rolling to one side. Just taking a moment to slowly come to your seat. So just as you find your seat, returning to that reading, if I can find it again. I might have lost it. So as you settle, let your eyes close softly. And somehow I've lost the reading, but the reading about Venus. About Venus, although she is alone, no moon to accompany her, there's no clouds to cloud her judgment. How brilliantly she shines alone, joining the palms at the heart, bowing head to heart. We close our practice here, folks. So, a real pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you so much.